WNST Center and Radio Row in Houston, Texas, and I still got fallout here. All week long, I've been catching up with people that I saw, but I couldn't corral to do the show, and a lot of my media friends who were busy running around. I got to tell this story, though. On Thursday afternoon in the Media Center, I saw astronauts, and not shocking in Houston, where the NASA headquarters is, obviously, but there were folks in astronaut suits, and they were doing a little bit of media, and I found the media relations person. I said, there's an astronaut from Baltimore that always shows up on television here talking Oriole baseball, and I've never had that astronaut on. I said, I think his name is Terry. And they're like, yeah, Terry Virts, he loves the Orioles. I said, where is he? They're like, oh, he's not an astronaut anymore, but we can get you to him and get him on the show. And lo and behold, Terry Virts is on the line right now, checking in from NASA headquarters in Houston, where the residue, Tom Brady was his own rocket ship on Sunday, wasn't he, Terry?
He was. That was impressive.
Well, I guess if there was ever a guy that if he weren't a football player could have been an astronaut, Tom Brady would have been that guy. He's the right kind of athlete, right?
He probably would have had no trouble except for one minor detail. He's pretty tall guy, and the castles we fly in are pretty small, so he might have had a hard time that way.
Do you have to be small to be an astronaut? How tall are you, Terry?
I'm 5'10", so I'm kind of right in the middle, and I barely fit in the Soyuz. We fly in a Russian Soyuz capsule nowadays that the shuttle's retired, and man, that was a tight squeeze. So I think Tom's probably like 6'5" or something. He'd have a hard time squeezing in there.
Dude, I've been waiting a long time to get you on the show. I mean, I was really hard, and I was busy as hell on Thursday, and you text me, and you're like, I'll call in. I'm like, call in next week. We'll talk about the game. I wanted to catch up with you. First off, I mean, you're kind of famously from Baltimore, and I know there have been a handful of folks who've been involved in the space program from the Baltimore area. I mean, you and I are the same age. I graduated in 1985 from Dundalk High. You graduated at Oakland Mills, so we're very much contemporaries. Dude, of all the things in the world, I never thought I could be president because I thought I had two checker to pass. I learned differently this year. I learned that anybody can be qualified to be president. But the astronaut thing, for me, I never thought about it. I mean, I love space and I love the solar system and studying the planets in the third grade and all that stuff. But I don't know when the button goes on that you could actually be an astronaut, right?
Well, you know what? The first book I read was about Apollo when I was in kindergarten, and I grew up with space posters and airplane posters on my walls. But what I really wanted to do was play shortstop for the Orioles. But unfortunately, I had bad timing. There was this guy, Cal Ripken, who was a couple years older than me, showed up. So,
and he wasn't 5'10".
No, he wasn't. And he could. The thing is, he could hit and he could throw and he could field, all skills that I lacked sorely. So anyway, that's why I had to take my second career option.
I did the same thing. I decided I could write, and I knew enough about sports to write about it. So, I decided to be an athletic supporter myself. So I understand. How do you get into this? Literally, at that point in our lives, in 1985, we were probably both at senior week in Ocean City, for crying out loud. The trajectory that you take, and I know you went Air Force Academy, right? So, at that point, at what point did maybe being a pilot translate to maybe going into outer space?
That's funny. You and I were at senior week together in Ocean City that year. And like I said, when I was a kid, I decided that I just loved it, and I didn't think it was possible. I mean, who gets to be an astronaut? That's kind of crazy. But I learned what was required, and I knew I needed to get a technical degree, and being a pilot was a good thing. So I went to the Air Force Academy, majored in math, and I kind of kept on checking these boxes, never really thinking it was going to be possible because, like I said, that's a crazy dream.
But was it a goal? I mean, literally, when you were 19, did you think, I'd like to go to – I mean, not that everybody gets that opportunity, or does the light go on later for you on that?
No, it was a goal. It was one of those things where I kind of kept on doing what was required, not expecting it to happen, but keeping the options open, keeping that road available, and eventually it worked out. I got very lucky.
How many times have you been out of our atmosphere, Terry?
So I flew in space twice, once on the space shuttle almost exactly 7 years ago on Endeavour, STS-130, and then once on a Russian Soyuz from 2014 to 2015. I was in space for 200 days on that mission.
200 days. I mean, we come a long way from going to the Science Center and eating the astronaut ice cream, right?
Oh, man, I've been to the Maryland Science Center many times. And, the good thing is, we had real ice cream. The cargo ships, they've got these freezers for science experiments, and going up, they put some Ben and Jerry's in there for us. It was great.
Well, I mean, look,
better than the Science Center ice cream.
I've had some Chunky Monkey in my day, but never, outside of this atmosphere. How many people have walked on the moon? I don't know the answer to that question, but the only other astronaut I've ever met was John Glenn. And I met him at the Capitol. There's a little shuttle, like a little car that goes underneath. There's tunnels underneath Washington. And I actually was on a college. I was at Dundalk Community College, and he was a senator from Ohio, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he wound up sitting in my little pod for 3.5 minutes it was kind of like a little people mover, and he was the guy that was next to me. My teacher said, "That's John Glenn," and I talked to him for 3.5 minutes. Other than that, it's been 30 years since I've talked to an astronaut, Terry.
Well, I'm honored. John is a great man. He recently passed away, but there were 12 Americans who walked on the moon, and that's the only people. The last one left there 45 years ago.
Wow.
Gene Cernan, who actually just passed away a few weeks ago. So it's been a long time since we were there. And ironically, the manager that I have that's helping me to do speaking and that kind of thing is also Buzz Aldrin's manager. And I had breakfast with Buzz and Christina yesterday here in Houston. So, it's a really, really small group. There's only 6 men still alive who were on the moon during the Apollo program.
I don't mean to be flippant, but I've never heard the answer to this question. I've never heard it asked, honestly. Why did we stop going to the moon? Were we just done? I'm sorry I have so many science questions. We'll get to the Orioles, but, dude, you're an astronaut. It's fascinating to me.
Well, that's a great question. A lot of people still ask that. The expense was pretty high, and, President Kennedy's task of getting to the moon and returning safely by the end of the decade had been achieved, and President Nixon decided to go in a different direction. They wanted to build a space shuttle to give more routine and regular and hopefully cheaper access to space. So that program actually was announced when the last men were on the moon in 1972. The president called up and said, "Hey, the space shuttle program got approved." So we just changed our direction. We've been flying in low Earth orbit ever since, early 70s.
Well, it's kind of weird, right, being an astronaut, because it's sort of like being a football player. It's a limited time engagement, right? I mean, you can work in science. It's nice to, have that on your LinkedIn page, I'm sure. But there's only so long, and you did all of that training to go to space twice. You'll never go to space again, right?
That's true. And, it's a lot like, being a professional athlete, except for the signing bonus and the and the 5-year deal.
Did you get a ring?
I did not get a ring. You get 2 polos. Whenever you fly on a space mission, NASA buys you 2 Land's End polos. That was our contribution. But the good thing about being an astronaut is, like you said, you got training in science, and there are future careers you can have. But for me, I had done everything there was to do. I'm still in my 40s. It was time for me to kind of move on to the private sector and pursue another phase of life. But it's hard, it's just like, Cal Ripken won this World Series when he was basically a rookie in 1983 and then never went back. And so whenever you get a space flight, you really need to enjoy it and take advantage of it, because you never know if or when it's going to happen again.
He is Terry Virts. You can follow his journey out on Twitter, and hundreds of thousands do, at Astro Terry. Even though it says Astro Terry and you're wearing orange, you're not an Astros fan, Terry, are you?
Astros are kind of my trend. I've lived here for 16 years, so they're kind of my second team. I was always hoping for an Astros-Orioles World Series, but now I got to hope for the Astros-Orioles ALCS.
Yeah, so from your fandom of the Orioles, you're kind of famous for being an Orioles fan. And again, it's been years, and I've kind of always wanted to have you on and ask you all these tough questions. But, for the Orioles in the offseason, when I think of what happened to Matt Ryan and Dan Quinn on Sunday, I think they'll always be remembered for being the guys that blew the 25-point lead in a Super Bowl. Buck, his last act was leaving Zach Britton, on the pine in an extra inning game in Toronto. They need to fix that, right? I mean, this is that's a tough thing to sort of overcome coming back into the season, I believe.
Yeah, it's true, but if the Falcons had run the ball up the middle and kicked the field goal, then Matt Ryan would have been the Tom Brady replacement. And that's the tough thing about sports, is it always comes down to one play, and it could have been lucky. If if Ubaldo came in and shut him down, and then somebody hit a solo home run, and Zach came in to close the game, then Buck would have been the genius for saving Zach for the last inning. So that's the hard thing about sports. It's a game of inches, and you take your chances, and when it works out, you're the hero, and when it doesn't, you're the GOAT. So I guess it's the cost of doing business. But it's been fun to be an Orioles fan the last 5 years.
Well, there's no doubt about it. I mean, after, much pain.
After a decade or two of pain.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the pain. I led the walkout on Angelos back in 06, so, I was one of the resistance people in that. But all that being said, the Machado thing now comes up, and I think as fans, that's where the scuttlebutt is. It's, well, we're kind of resigned to the fact that he's not going to be here 2 years from now. I think that's a very difficult thing for the fans to accept at this point. It's sort of the modern-day Messina thing that it appears as though it's not going to get done here.
Yeah, I don't know. I had a chance to meet Manny, actually. He came and did a tour at NASA last year, and it was what an amazingly talented guy. And the Orioles have had a lot of good talent. The thing is, Dan and the Buck and those guys, you have so many resources, and you need so much production, and so you have to figure out how to spend your money wisely, and it's a tough thing. We're not the Yankees, we're not the Cubs. We don't have a $250 million payroll, so he's done amazing. He's pulled some rabbits out of hats, so hopefully we'll continue to do that for the next few years.
Certainly concerned about the bottom of the rotation, but once again, they're going to hit a lot of home runs. I mean, if you like beer league softball and you like 9 to 8 baseball games, I mean, the Trumbo thing's amazing. It's amazing how his power wasn't as valued through the marketplace, that not everybody is chasing guys that hit 35 home runs and might strike out 200 times.
Nelson Cruz, Trumbo, Chris Davis, we've gotten a lot of home runs in the last 5 years. It's good. I know, the Orioles we're probably a couple players away from being World Series contenders for the last few years. So hopefully, I don't know. I'm just an astronaut. I'm just an amateur baseball fan. But hopefully we'll have some more October and preferably first week in November baseball coming up. It's been I was at the World Series game in '83 as a high schooler. I went and sold hot dogs. I worked at the hot dog stand so I could go to that game, and I took my son to the Astros World Series a decade ago when he was like a 5-year-old kid, and so I'd like to go to see another World Series game.
Well, you got two chances because you got the Astros and the Orioles, so at least you've doubled down in the American League. I think it's still weird that the Astros are in the American League, quite frankly.
It is weird. Like I said, I was hoping for that Astros-Orioles World Series, but it's time to come. I want to see one at Camden Yards, first ever World Series at Camden Yards.
For Houston last week, and I know you've made it home there, we're on the line with Terry Virts. Astro Terry is the way to follow our famous Baltimorean and astronaut of 2 space missions. I guess for that community and for the Super Bowl, the Final Four last year, I think it's sort of underappreciated. I think they did a fantastic job both times they've had the Super Bowl there.
Yeah, they did. It's a big logistical thing. I mean, it's not the Olympics, but man, just driving around Houston, there's a lot of hotels and Uber and restaurants and media, and I mean, it's a big show to put on. And actually, my son got to play at NRG Stadium last year and this year as a football player. His team went pretty far in the high school Texas 6A football, so that stadium is a big part of our community. It's more than just 8 Texans games a year. It's used for high school football and concerts, and I saw the Final Four national championship college basketball game there a few years ago, and it's a big part of the Houston community.
I saw that they made, speaking of Astro, Terry, the Astrodome, they've made it a national historic play. I mean, like, it's not going to get ripped down. I kind of thought it might have been gone, like, over the last couple of years. I know they were having rodeos there, and last time there was a Super Bowl there, I remember seeing Eddie Money, playing the pregame tailgate inside there.
Right.
I was shaking, and I was shocked it's still there, and apparently it's not going anywhere, right?
That's been it's been on the chopping block for years, and then they just had a coalition came together to save it recently, and it was back in the 60s and 70s, it was one of the wonders of the world. But I actually never saw a baseball game there. But it's right next to the Texan Stadium, and it's about a third of it's so much smaller than this gigantic Texans NRG Stadium. It's impressive.
It's amazing how big it used to look on Bad News Bears and Breaking Training, and then you see the new stadium next to it, and it looks like sort of a shed.
Right. It's like the training facility. Yeah.
He is Terry Virch. You can follow his journey at Astro Terry out on Twitter. He is our Baltimore astronaut and resident Orioles fan. Hey, man, I'm with you. If we get a little playoff baseball between Houston and the Orioles, a little short series, I'm all for coming down there and hitting the original Memphis and some of the Latin places that I missed last week in the traffic and enjoying some baseball. It's been an absolute pleasure to check in with you. I appreciate you coming on. What's going on with your life? You're speaking and you're no longer an astronaut. You're not even with NASA anymore, right?
Yeah, I retired from NASA, and I'm going to be doing speaking, so public speaking around the country and around the world. I've got a book that's going to be coming out this fall with National Geographic. It's a space photography and stories from space book I'm super excited about, which is, I was a C English student there at Oakland Mills High School, but I was able to, get this book written, and I'm super excited about that. And doing some consulting, so trying to do some different projects, and I'm going to see how long I can avoid getting a full-time job. We'll see how that goes.
It's incredible. As you posted earlier in the day on Tuesday, a 1984 picture of Bruce McCandless, walking in space. When you were up there, did Earth look really big, or did it look distant and small? Because I see these different pictures, and some of them are very affected and made for movies and stuff, but I have no perspective on how far above the planet you were that it looked overwhelmingly large, or whether you could sort of take it all in with one eye, and as the planet spun, being able to look and say, there's Australia. Look, there's North America. Right. In the same way we'd look at a globe. I don't have a perspective on that.
So it's like you can see the curvature of the Earth, and when you look down from the space station, the Earth is round. There's no doubt about that. But you can get a big zoom lens out and zoom into cities. So I got a great picture of Baltimore and the Orioles and Ravens stadiums there, and aquarium. Or you can put the wide-angle lens on, and you get this picture of like half the Earth. When I was outside on my spacewalks, looking through the visor, it was like looking down on creation. I mean, it was an amazing experience. You could see from horizon to horizon, sunrise. And so you can kind of see both. If you step back and look, you can see the round Earth and the big picture, or you can get your zoom lens out and really zoom into cities and see details. I got a picture of the San Diego ballpark. I did a baseball thing with NASA, try to get a picture of all the different baseball stadiums. And this picture I got of this Padres stadium, I mean, you can tell that they have the shift on. It's such a great zoomed-in picture. You can see where the players are in the outfield. It was pretty cool.
Dude, that's super cool, man. It'd be even better after a beer or two. I'm sure the tails grow taller on down. At some point, I need you to bring your photo gallery to me so I can take a look at your pictures and say, how in the world did that happen?
Go to the book is going to be amazing. I was out in Hollywood this past weekend for the annual awards, the Academy Awards, and this was for the cinematographers for the IMAX film that I made, A Beautiful Planet. It's showing down at the Air and Space Museum. It's the best way. If you want to see, experience space, this IMAX film is just incredible. Hopefully it'll be at the Maryland Science Center before too long.
Now that's in D.C. at the Smithsonian, yes?
It's in D.C. at the Smithsonian, yeah. It's going to be there for a while. The director there told me that 1 million people are going to see it while they're showing it But it's an incredible, beautiful planet. And I was talking to a guy named Emmanuel Lubezki. He goes by Chivo. He won the Academy Award for the Best Picture for Gravity and Birdman and The Revenant. He won 3 years in a row Academy Award for Best Picture. So we were talking after this party, and I was showing him pictures from my book, and it was so much fun. He was so excited. He was like, well, how does this picture? How does it look? How did I do in the movie? What was the Soyuz capsule like that we used? Or it was just so much fun to talk to probably the best filmmaker in the world. I mean, this guy's amazing. And he was just really excited and interested in all the personal stories I had for each of these pictures.
Oh, I don't know how anybody couldn't be excited about it. I mean, at some point I hope to make your acquaintance, maybe put a ball cap on and have a hot dog and an adult beverage or something like that. But it's really great to have you on. I appreciate you making a little time in your schedule. Good luck with the book and with the speaking tour. Good luck to both of us on being Orioles fans the rest of our lives, right?
Amen. Here's to some World Series, hopefully sooner than later.
Appreciate it. That would be great. Your coffee table book and getting together over memories of winning Game 6 of the World World Series or something. That would be
Let's
awesome.
do it.
Terry, I appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on with us. And anytime you're home, we'll make sure you don't eat tourist crab cakes.
Sounds good. Thanks, Nestor.
You got it. Terry Virts. He is Astro Terry out on Twitter. 305,000 followers because he puts up pretty cool pictures. You want to check that out as well. Very nice first visit from him. Shame we couldn't get him down to Radio Row last week in Houston, but awesome to have him on talk a little Oriole baseball as well as some outer space. So this show will take you everywhere. We can go to outer space. Tom Brady aside, I'm a little worn out on talking about the Patriots already, and it's only been 48 hours. You can find me in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Just download the TuneIn radio app. We do come in crystal clear. I don't know if we came in outer space. I have to ask Terry next time. Morning newspaper ships to your email inbox, 7 a.m. each and every morning. That is all brought to you by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. I bet that would ship. I bet email worked in outer space. So there, you get our morning newspaper in outer space. Pretty cool, pretty Jetsons, I think. Any breaking news happens first on the WNST Tech Service. Orioles, Ravens, Terps, you'll get it first. Luke's got you handled. I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks, off in Australia, running around, chasing Bruce Springsteen, probably drinking wine. Who knows what I'm going to be doing? Probably eating, I won't be eating any Vegemite. Vegemite doesn't go so well for me, but maybe some other Australian. They have beer there. I plan on participating in that as well as the beach and summer. But I will be back. Best of rock next week. Best of sports the following week. We will keep you engaged here at AM 1570. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. I'll be tweeting on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and streaming live on Facebook Live, as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.